is your view on US markets right now? Are they overbought?
Well, I think trying to understand U.S. markets at the moment is complicated. I think that the U.S. markets have been on the rise for a number of years now, post the global financial crisis. Overall, I think that if we look at the price-to-earnings ratios, the momentum, everything else, I think one can argue that the pricing makes some sense. But I think this has been a very long recovery, and where we are in terms of how long it's gone. I mean, a lot of people like to make baseball analogies, talking about being in late innings. I think maybe cricket analogies are more at hand, where the innings go on for some days, as I understand.
Yeah, well, it certainly seems like that is the case at the moment. I mean, we've just kicked off earnings season on Friday in the States, and expectations are that we are going to see, improvements in earnings almost across the board, top and bottom line, which is something, of course, that we've been lacking in the past. Which seems to suggest, as you pointed out, that perhaps the PE ratios at the moment, as it stands, are, well, they're fair. At what point does it become a concern, though? I guess what I've been looking for the last 6 months or more is the catalyst for this market to turn around, because there is concern over earnings. There is concern over complacency, the level of complacency that seems to be in the market at the moment. Just how long can it go on for? Well,
I share your concern about complacency. I think that if we look back at history, we see that the price ranges right now are at historic highs, and as high as they've been prior to 1929, and as high as they've been prior to the tech wreck. I also think we have to be careful. I mean, there's some commentators arguing out there at the moment for kind of an end of economic history view. I think history tells us that rarely doesn't happen. History has a way of asserting itself. Very hard to predict where we are in terms of this cycle, because we know the US cycle is long in the tooth and getting older. However, now we see signs in Europe, signs in emerging markets, signs in Asia. It's a complicated story out there, and how one assesses risk and how one values it, measures it, and invests, those will be the keys to succeeding.
So how do you assess risk?
Well, first and foremost, when we look at it from our perspective, we have to make sure that we maintain the funded position of our pension plan. So what we want to make sure is that the interest rate risk that we face is completely hedged. It is under our current investment strategy. And then as we look at, and we're very active in the alternative investment area, we want to make sure that we support our investors in their decision making. We pay them for the skill that they use, not the money they put out the door. So if they find the valuations are too rich, we support them in making sure they make the right decisions. Lastly, we have to make sure that our returns are uncorrelated. One of the great lessons, I think, of the global financial crisis was that a lot of organizations thought they had diversified portfolios, and when push came to shove, those correlations went to 1. So when we look at our portfolio and how we construct it, we base it on risk factors, and we make sure that we're investing in a way where we try to improve our diversification.